and speaking from a Muslim, as a Muslim, as far as him making some type of a statement as to what he felt about whether it's Gaza or any situation, what I was looking for, and it didn't make any difference whether he was referring to the Torah, the Injil, or the Bible, or the Quran. I was looking for where does he stand as an individual and following his own faith on a situation that is critical that we're looking at. What is his position from his own spiritual perspective? This is what I was looking for him, the response that I wanted to get back. Not having anything to do with church and state or the presidency or anything like that. The laws that I wasn't even interested in. I just wanted to see what he felt as a human being. Well, I didn't get, yeah, I was disappointed because I didn't get anything. Whether Bush was still in office or, because I wasn't looking for the law of the land or the presidency or anything like that. Because, I mean, if I say, well, if I asked you a question, I say, should I go rob this bank? And you say, oh, no, no, that's wrong. Then I'm satisfied. That's it. Don't need to hear anything else. But if you say, well, I don't know if you should rob it or not because that's not my decision, then I'm not going to be satisfied with that.
The election did create a lot more optimism amongst minorities and Muslim Americans. You know, just saying, because you look at the history of the presidency, and yeah, there were the constitutional rules of who could be president, but then there were the unwritten rules of who could be president, and a lot of those rules have been shattered now. So it's given us a lot more optimism as to, like, you know, we can run for office, we can make a difference, because sometimes a lot of people look at these roles as you know, that they're not gonna, you can't really do anything. Your voice will never be heard. But then, you know, you have somebody like President Obama who you know, who got his start. He was working in the community in Chicago, and then he helped people, and he was able to eventually able to make a difference then. And then look at him now; he's president of the United States of America. So that says a lot, that even these little things that we can do can really help out our community, and it does encourage a lot of Muslim Americans. And you know, just you look at President Obama, of course, you know, a huge thing has been made about his middle name, about his ancestry, and if the American people have been able to overcome their fears and do what is right, elect the person that they believe to be the best fit for the position, then hopefully the American people can look over somebody look somebody over just because they're Muslim. And you know, so hopefully our people will stop being so apathetic and become more involved within the local community and hopefully within the national community.
We're optimistic. We believe that he's going to be better for the country, better for humanity as a whole. But we don't want to put extra pressure on him by just building him up and put all the focus and everything on him, when really we all have a responsibility to help him, you know, as far as bringing about the greatest change that we really need to bring about. I mean, because he's going to have enough on his plate, you know, just to try to deal with the past things that have already been put into place, like I said, that's already in motion, that he has to deal with. If we started to looking at him and scrutinizing every move that he makes, you know, I'm saying we'll miss the big picture, and then we'll be still in the same position. Like I said, we had the Civil Rights Act of 1865, and we had to come back with the same thing in 1965. And now we have Obama as a president, which on the surface is big progress to see a black or an African-American person as leader of the so-called free world. But underneath that, there's still these attitudes. There's still people plotting and planning. You know, they're saying, we got to do something about this. We can't have this, you know. And those people, we can't, you know, they will not accept the fact that slavery is not over. So, you know, we have to be realistic.
Okay, well, first of all, you have to vote. I mean, the Constitution gives you, I don't know exactly the Constitution, but you have the right to vote. And I remember reading a story about masajid in Chicago area where the khutbah was around like the last month or two, and they were telling you, go out and vote, go out and vote. And then there were people standing at the doors handing out flyers that say voting is haram. And there was funded by people from like the Emirates of Saudi who don't have democracy. And that just made me very mad. It's like, if you have this viewpoint, go live there if you think it's so bad. Number two, like me, you should get interested in running for public office. Even if Barack Obama hadn't been elected, there were the nation's first two Muslim congressmen. One, Keith Ellison in Minnesota, and there's another in Indiana. Maybe there's been more. The voting, public office, to stay aware, even just county, state, national, and even international. I know people think Americans are very apathetic, they don't know anything, but this isn't the only country that's like that. When I was in the Middle East, I found a lot of people were the same way. I mean, they knew about soccer, they knew about the price of food, that was it. But just be aware, vote, be interested in public office, or at least how it affects you. Stay aware of the issues. And if something bad happens, like George Bush stealing 2 elections, get mad about it. In the Ukraine, which was and I think it was Moldova, of all places, they had 2 rigged elections, and people, they just wouldn't have it. And that was a formal part of the Soviet Union. They hadn't had any freedom for hundreds of years, really. And if they can do it, but we don't do it, that's just shameful, really.
Well, like I said before, I don't agree with everything that President Obama stands for, maybe, but I do have a lot of hope. And, which is cliche because that's what his entire campaign was about. But, I think that I really liked how President Obama instilled that hope in a lot of people, whereas Republicans were all about the fear. And I felt like we were living in some kind of Orwellian 1984 America. So I'm just really looking forward to what President Obama can bring to the American people, and hopefully we can become the country that everybody once looked up to before.
Yes.